to stick it through and just stay tough, it's paying off for you, man. I mean, right now Amazon is hot. Amazon's in $1 trillion as far as generating cash flow for the company, and they're willing to share with everyone else. And so how do you plan the whole meetup? Like, you're trying to do work-life balance, and as a startup meetup person, what did you have to do first? Or better yet. What did you do first, and then you realized it wasn't working this way, and then you started making changes?
The first thing I did wrong, and it's something that I normally pride myself on, is, when somebody asks me, like, what's your Thor's hammer in your business? Like, what's your superpower? And not to get the ahs and all that there. My superpower is my wife. Like, my wife, my partner, like, I bounce things off of her. And it's even amazing that she's not a marketer and she hates Amazon, and like total opposite. But that's my superpower there. So, what I normally do for anything is I'm like, babe, I got this idea. And she's like, oh my God. But I didn't do that with the meetup, because I really thought in the beginning no one was going to be interested. And I started getting it going, and I'm only telling, like, babe, headed to a meetup. And it was kind of like, you're gone all day and it's a Saturday. Like something's weird here. Like, so the first mess up I did was that. And it wasn't, bringing my partner into
not communicating.
Yes.
All right, gotcha.
That was a bad one. Then go ahead.
You were just saying, I'm out, and that's it.
Right. Yeah. Babe, I'm off to a meetup. Like, and it kind of sounds like I'm just going to go, race some remote control cars and, like, just be at home, do your thing. And that's not like us. So my wife's my rock. So when this meetup started picking up a little bit, and by that I mean we had 9 or 10 members that came each event, and this is once a month. And the only question they had was, when can we do this weekly? Like, between each event, I have so many things going on in my business, so many like ideas I want to share, or like just entrepreneurial brainstorms that I want to share. And it's like, I can't wait for the next one. And I said, you know what, if I'm going to do a weekly, I need my wife on board first. And I'm going to have to create a Facebook group now, so that we can communicate between hand. And I need someone to kind of moderate it, because I don't have that kind of time. So they were like, oh, me, like, I will. And I'm like, you're telling me this, it's a free meetup. We run a free meetup group. So there's no pay here, but I need to be on you like you were getting paid. So, right. That weird balance, I'm sure you go through it in yours. Oh, and yeah. You go through a lot of people, and little by little, I've built together an amazing team. So my first, to answer that really long answer, my first big mistake was not communicating with my wife and explaining to her that this is a passion to me. This is something like geeking out on Star Wars, but it also is business.
Right.
I get a lot from members, and they're like, you're doing this. There's no come to the back of the room at the end. There's no buy this expensive course for you and your stuff. Like, that makes me even more concerned. Like, what is it that you're getting out of this? So I needed to figure that out, because at the amount of time that it was taking, this is a weekly. One thing is doing something for free and giving a lot of value, and the other is having the balance between, there should be some ROI here. So I decided I wanted to create a massive annual event. And I was imagining it like 3-5 days at the beach, at a hotel, and workshops, and I guess something like traffic and conversion, but for my industry, like more for Amazon, Shopify, eBay. And I also wanted to put a book out and eventually a course. And I needed a base of people to do that. So that was sort of, and I just love it. Like, if you're there at my meetups, you've been there, you spoke before, like I geek out on this. It's one of the only things I know a lot about. And I love it. So that's my why.
So when I went to your meetup, man, so here's how I started my meetup. And it was basically, I got to come up with content. Talk to people, because people want to learn something. They don't want to feel like they're wasting their time.
Yeah.
And I would create this not a long presentation, but for me, it's like sitting down to create a presentation. It's not easy for me. It's like, I'd rather just talk on the fly, grab a dry erase board and start talking. But to sit down and create a slideshow and come up with a plan, I always procrastinate and wait to the end and just crush it out towards the end. And I get the job done. It's like when I went to school. But when I saw you do your meetup, I was inspired because I saw basically a new model where I'm like, let's just talk about what's working now. Let's talk about what questions do you have, and I'm going to share my answers and have other people just talk about it. And it worked really well for you, and one time it worked really well for me, but then the other time is like, okay, what are we going to talk about today? So coming up with the themes was one of the toughest things that I've ever experienced, because I feel like I'm talking about the same thing over and over again, and I'm getting repeat people coming. I don't want to lose them. Like it's already an honor to have people show up. To lose people because I'm talking about the same thing. Have you found that balance yet? What are you finding?
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, I have to say how happy I am to hear what you said in the beginning, because I can say this to you because we're friends, and I'd go home sometimes after your meetups and I would talk to my wife about it. Mind you, this is talking to someone. It's like bouncing off a wall, because I'm talking marketing. I'm talking like digital marketing tactics, and she can tell that I'm just like alive. And she's just like, are we going to bed yet? Like, have you fed the dogs? Like, and she wasn't there, but I said, babe, you have to see this way this guy presents his slides, his everything. Like I'm so technologically challenged when it comes to that seeing you do it was exciting. And then it was also almost demoralizing. I said, there's no way I'm going to be able to put this kind of stuff together. So to hear that it was a stress for you and you didn't just like wake up and do this magical stuff, it actually makes me feel good. Then the structure for my content was a huge one. In the beginning, I would get a lot of people, and then some people would just stop coming, and having to reach out to them personally, because with a meetup, it works better in person. Sending a poll, people don't interact too much.
Right.
And I talk to them and they'd say, look, like you're teaching stuff and it's amazing, but you taught me that 3 months ago at a meetup. And I've mastered it and I'm thankful for it. Like I'm seeing growth in my business, but I need more. And I said, okay, I need feedback from the group. And I needed to structure the structure of my group is not how it was before. We used to we'd sit down and it would be this like AMA, ask me anything, open topic. And it'd be like, okay, let's talk. And people didn't want to talk. I'd break the ice about the things I'm most passionate about. And then we do that for the whole time. So what we have is we begin each event with a beginner hour. And that's a time for the beginners to come. And it's also a time for the veterans or the ones that feel they're not there to come in later, but know when, their hour is coming. And I always encourage the beginners to stay, even though some of the stuff might be over their head, because they're going to get there and they're going to get there fast. And that helped amazing. The second one was the content, like you said. We're up to 9 events per month. There's no repeats. So that's, over 100 events per year.
That's insane, man.
Right. And no repeats. So I've always been really strong with virtual assistants. I'm over 50 businesses, 242 virtual assistants I have. And I got to the point where I got a virtual assistant and I'm like, you know what? I need someone to do research. I'm familiar with how to train this, and I get a Trello board and I fill it with all of the blogs in my industry that I'm like, these are reputable. I'm a fan of steal like an artist, like not reinventing the wheel, not plagiarism either. You know what I mean? But like
modeling. Yeah. We call it modeling.
Yes, I like it. Modeling. That's a marketer's term for sure. Modeling. Yeah. I love modeling. And so I filled this Trello list with, I had her fill this Trello list with all the blog topics that they had for the last 2 years. And then I looked at those topics. Mind you, these are written to be catchy. They're written for SEO purposes. And I'm just like, I look at them and then I drag them over to another list that says, I want to do an event on this. And which means a lot of things. Means, first of all, we need to change this title because we don't want to plagiarize. We just want to model. And then I tell them, I want you to find 8 supporting articles on the web to support this topic and cite them. Plus, I want you to do 4 bullet points for each one of those articles. So, and have that in a single Trello card. When you've done it, drag it to ready to be announced. And now I have 4 years worth of meetups right now that I could announce. And then I have somebody else that goes in and creates presentations on them because I don't have that art like you to like that talent to build out a PowerPoint presentation.
Dude, you've got like a whole system for this. This is amazing. Which explains why you're one of the top meetup groups out there, because you're putting in the work.
Oh yeah.
And I know I've put in the work. I have not even done an inch of what you've done at all. Like I've been driving this entire bus all by myself. I've had some people kind of help me here and there, like Fernando. You know Fernando.
Yeah. The
He
spark.
helps me out. He helps me out, but this isn't his thing. It's just more like, hey man, whenever you need something, I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. And that's cool and all, but that's not what it needs. You need to basically treat this like an entire business, because this is, in my opinion, this is the testing platform to see if a product can come out of this. Because
Yes.
after you see the demand and the excitement, and it's kind of like what you said, what now? And I already mastered this. How can I take this to the next level?
Yeah.
And that's the product that we're basically creating out of what people are saying. So you can't just, all right, we're going to have a meetup and we're going to talk about digital marketing. No, it's got to be what's popular right now? What's generating enough traffic? Let's talk about it and let's see if we can create a product out of it based off of what people say. And the fact that you're running so many freaking meetups, man, you get to really speed up that research process because you get to really test the field. So then what you do the poll at the event, like at the meetup? Like how do you do that?
Well, after every event, in addition to the meetups, you have a beginner hour, then a topic of the week. After that, every single one, it's mandatory. And this one is getting bigger than even the events. And that is, we have a networking / mastermind. You got to throw the word mastermind. Everyone's like using it. So it's like a networking / masterminding event, which is we're having, $5 burgers and beers. And I let people know, like, look, you don't even have to buy food. Like, come here, have the bread and pesto, like whatever. And we hang out, and now we talk about everything. I use that opportunity to pull people to the side and be like, what do you think? Like, don't tell me what I want to hear. Don't BS me. And I joke around. I'm like, look, I just had a Blue Long Island. Like, I'm going to be able to read you. Like, tell me, like, what's up? And I put them at ease, and they tell me, like, I'd like to see this, or I'd like to see that. Some of the stuff is just, it's like, yeah, I'd love to do that. But to pull that off, it would need to be a paid event. And that's something I don't want to do.
Right.
And then other stuff, it's like, that's genius. Like, that makes sense. Well, one of the ones is people said, I'm only in town. We have people that drive down from Orlando twice a month to come to this event. And we're in Miami, which is not huge. We have someone that comes down from Tampa every other month.
That's like you could listen to an entire book twice.
Yes.
Drive. That's what
so people told me, they said, listen, and the Facebook group Wizards of Amazon, there's a lot of people that we want to attend. We keep seeing you post about this stuff, but can you record it? Again, here we come. I'm not techie. And I'm just like, record it. Oh my God. Like the audio and the video, and how does this connect? And we finally figured it out. And so now 6 of the 9 events per year are recorded. And now it's, this week it goes live on a membership site. People can access all the recordings, like all of that stuff. So you can come to the meetup for free. You can watch it live for free, but it goes away in 24 hours like an IG story. Or you can pay to get access to, the whole library of videos. And that took over 2.5 years to get there.
Wow, dude, that is amazing. You created the meetup. When I don't know if you went through this, and I think you kind of did based off your story, but when I started the meetup, I did it because Digital Marketer wanted to get the ball rolling. But we were actually the number 1 meetup in the entire country as far as a digital marketer was concerned. But because the other ones weren't as successful, they pulled the plug and they handed our meetups back to us, because I built that meetup from the ground up. And when I started the meetup, I had no idea what was going to happen with it. In fact, I still don't know exactly what's supposed to come from it. What I do know is that it's a testing ground to see what the demand says. But as far as when I started it, I didn't know. I wasn't expecting an ROI. I wasn't expecting anything other than, let's see what happens. Did you go through something like that too, or?
Oh yeah. In the beginning, before I realized this has become I hate to use the word movement, but my group has just gotten. Before I got there, it was like, what? I had no idea why I'm doing this, and I just knew that I wish something like this had existed when I started. And here's another one. It sounds weird to say. I've never said this. I'm going to say it like first time right here on the podcast. Maybe it sounds weird, but when I started the meetup, it was whatever. I had never taught. I had never done a presentation. I had never been on a podcast, anything like that. And when I got there, obviously terrified, even with 4 people to start talking. But when I got there and the group started growing and I kept going, there was almost like a high. There was almost this like power trip sounds ugly, but it was almost like this power. And it took me a while to figure this out. And it was like, I love teaching. Like, I don't know if that makes me a horrible person, but like, I love it. Like, I get a high from it. And I was chasing that. I think I'm still chasing that.
Man,